Hello, good morning, sir. Nagesh, sir, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me also?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir. I can see you also, sir.
I'm also able to see you.
Thank you, sir. Be online, sir. Be online, sir. Voice is clear for you, sir?
Yes, yes. Am I
Thank
also
you, sir.
clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Voice is perfect, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, Dr. Nagesh. Good morning.
In the clinic.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're in clinic, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for joining, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Akhtar, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Akhtar here.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr.
How are you? How are you this morning? Looking nice.
Morning is
Half hour.
fine.
Huh? You're looking good, I said. You look well
Thank
protected.
you. Thank you.
Indirect message to all of us
And one more thing
to take good care. Yeah. Yes. Now you're totally protected.
Akhtar, sir. Dr. Nagesh is a president-elect, sir. Sir
Yes,
is from
I know.
Bangalore.
I know, yeah.
Morning, Dr.
I know
Akhtar.
Dr. Nagesh very well, man. My good friend.
Morning, sir.
Okay, not
Thank
knowing
you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Akhtar, you look just the same.
Sorry?
I believe I met over 10 years.
Thank you.
Almost
Okay.
10 years, no? Since we met.
Yeah, I think
More
I
than
guess,
10
yeah.
years.
Yeah, I know.
Someday we went to one of various things around.
Yes, not very audible.
Those days we had a lot of passion for photography.
I still do. But
Still
now
there?
more into paintings. Yeah, presently more into painting. Yeah.
Oh, painting. Wow.
That's the preoccupation is, and occupation are going hand in hand.
Ah, nice.
And this lockdown gave me more opportunity.
Painting on
Lockdown.
canvas?
Yes. Lot of work.
What
Oil,
else?
printing.
What else? Was it oil paint or
Traditional oil on water canvas.
oil? Wow, lovely. Do post a picture. Those days,
Yes, I
also
do.
you used to edit your photographs also.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take your number now. We lost touch now, and I'll keep it in
I
touch.
think if it's the same number, I still have it.
You still have? Okay, I'll just check it.
I still
I'll do
have your
number.
number. Anyway, I'll take it from
Good.
Dr. Gita.
Perfect.
And I'll
Thank you.
message you. I'll do that.
Nice. Good to see you. A long time. I don't think you've changed much also. I can't see your hair. Whether your hair loss. That happens to all of us. Maturity. Comes with maturity, you see. It has to come.
It has to, yes, it has to.
Yes.
But fortunately, God gave me the time.
Ah, okay, not bad. I look at my classmate. First thing my eye goes there, just to feel a little happy. That it's not happened to me so far.
No.
Cheerful as ever. Good. So, another 3 minutes more. Yeah, we can chat. We have another 3 minutes more.
Yeah.
To finish the program. Right?
3 minutes. You can probably start the program.
Yeah. No. I think people are getting in now. We have 77 people today, delegates. And I think next 2-3 minutes is when we get all of them. Yeah.
Lot of them will join.
We have 3 minutes. Let's use it. Yeah. So how's the things otherwise? Dr. Jayashankar is there? Jayashankar, I want to see Dr. Jayashankar.
Jayashankar Pillai.
Yes.
Pillai.
Sir, he's
Come on,
yet to
video.
join, sir. He's yet to join, sir.
Oh, okay. I want to see one video. All right. Yeah.
2 minutes, sir. He'll be joining.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dr. Balagopal.
So how are things there otherwise?
Yeah, good. We just finished our big batch of postgraduate examinations. Just done. So in fact, I've taken a day off. In fact, today I've taken a day off. You see me in civil dress.
Yes.
We had a very hectic week. conducting this examination during a
Did you
lockdown
call
was not
patients?
quite a just required amount. Because after cases, we could keep all the records what they've done. We couldn't get the patients because most of them are from Kerala and the border is sealed.
Oh,
But
okay.
but for practical purpose, for bite registration and biofunctional appliances, we managed. That's why it was almost as good as a physical examination this time. We managed it very well.
Uh-huh.
And we had 10 postgraduates this time, 8 plus 2 backlogs. So big team it was. And quite nicely done. I'm happy it went on very well. It was an experiment for us, you know. It's an experience, the new norm, adopt to the new norm. You know, we have to be very flexible. Yeah.
Wonder how long the new norm will go on.
I know.
Whether that will become an almost permanent new norm.
It could. We have to accept it. But I am very optimistic. I feel by this year, we should be good. Year end.
Yes, even I feel by December everything will settle down.
But one thing, this method of now webinars and all that is going to improve, more technical, even more advanced. Probably next I'll be seeing you in hologram in 3D.
Oh, that'll be lovely.
It's going to happen. All this is going to happen. There'll be nice amalgamation of both physical and this kind of webinars, you know. So we can get the expertise from all over the world to teach the students now. So that's a good way of looking at it. Besides the routine classes, the future will be full of these webinars with the holograms and things like that.
True.
So we can have
holograms and already some people were doing this augmented reality in classroom, have it for children, like having animals and plants and all those things appearing in the classroom through augmented reality.
Definitely. And it's just about to happen. And we look forward for it. Yeah.
But then
that's what I said.
For the teacher, it's really boring.
Exactly. So, but what I'm saying is, it goes an amalgamation of both in future. We take the advantages of physical teaching in a big background screen, and plus also have other people to discuss.
Yeah.
For change.
Yeah. So all the smart boards will become super smart hereafter.
Yes. Every day.
Whatever you invent in this line will be the instinct now.
That's Sudhindra, I think. That's Sudhindra. Good morning. Are you there? Nidesh.
Sir, just a minute, sir. I'm confirming Pillai is there. Whether Pillai is joined, sir.
In the meantime, I can talk to Nidesh also.
You're joined.
Talk to Nidesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Namaste. Fine.
So we have quite, I think, about 129 already now. Pretty good.
Like you said,
very interesting subject, you know. Yeah, I know. A very interesting subject, but less thought. People don't know about this. So it's good.
The association was began by one orthodontist of JJ conducted.
Yeah. Correct. I remember.
Akhtar sir, all are there. Can we start, sir?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Good morning, one and all. I request all of you to switch off your microphone, and whenever we ask you to switch on, please. Otherwise, the voice will be echoing. Please switch off your microphone. Once again, good morning from Center for Forensic Odontology, Enapoya Dental College. Before we start, I would like to ask if you are not able to log in through Google link, it is available also thanks to Department of IT, Enapoya Deemed to be University. This webinar has been live streaming available on YouTube also. You can click on the YouTube link, which is there in our website, or otherwise in our Enapoya Deemed to be University Facebook, Enapoya Dental College Facebook, and Enapoya Dental College Instagram page also. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Dean, Professor Dr. Akhtar Hussain. Sir is very keen on forensic odontology. Because of his initiative and interest, we could start a center here. It's in the primitive stage. We're working on that. Thanks a lot, sir. And I would like to ask our Dean, Dr. Akhtar Hussain, sir, to welcome the delegates. Thank you.
All right, now formally. Good morning. Good morning, everybody, all my friends around.
Good morning, sir.
I hope this program finds you in good health. I feel happy that we could start a center in forensic odontology at our college institution, Yanapaya Dental College, under the leadership of Sudhindra, the most energetic person. We have one of the most energetic people in my setup. And because of his, this could be, my dream could be there, but somebody has to make it realize. And he's the man who could do this. And I'm more happy today that we are now conducting a live workshop on forensic odontology, as especially in dental age estimation, both in living and the dead. Particularly the practical applications, I suppose, are considered here. So, of many procedures of age estimation, such as chronological age, bone age, mental age, and others, like dental age estimation, is considered to be an important procedure as it shows more consistency than other developmental features in relation to chronological age. As also that we know that teeth are the most tough and resilient part of the skeleton. I'm sure this program is going to give an insight to all the juniors, my students, the interns, and this insight into an important subject. But as I said earlier, unfortunately, less taught subject in the dental schools so far. So without going much, I would like to thankfully welcome my friend, President of IAFO, Dr. Balagopal, and the President-elect, Dr. K. Nagesh, and other good friends of mine to this program, and other office bearers. And also welcome the speaker. I also welcome the speaker of the day, an expert in the field, Dr. Jayashankar Pillai from Ahmedabad. A hearty welcome to all the office bearers and all the delegates present. Have a great day of enrichment in this interesting subject. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Now I'd like to request Dr. K. Nagesh, President-elect, Indian Association of Forensic Odontology, to give introductory remarks from the side of Indian Association of Forensic Odontology. Thank you, sir.
Respected Dr. Akhtar Hussain, members of the faculty, students, and staff, on behalf of our IAFO President, Dr. Balagopal, and Honorary Secretary, Dr. Ashit Acharya, and all the members of our IAFO, I wish you all a very good morning and interactive session. Dr. Akhtar Hussain, sir, it's a great honor and pleasure for IAFO to be associated with a prestigious institution like yours in promoting our forensic odontology to the larger mass. With the latest development in technology today and the dedication, commitment, and enthusiasm shown by our office bearers like Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu and Dr. Jayashankar Pillai, with the support and encouragement of all our other EC members and the constant guidance of our immediate past president, Dr. Samaraj, today in IAFO we are able to fulfill the vision or the dream of our founder president, Dr. J.J. Kannappan, in spreading the science of forensic odontology to every nook and corner of our country. Like the saying goes, if you can't go to the mountain will come to you. Today, in the present scenario, due to the hard work and commitment of all our members and utilizing the technology, we are able to bring the mountain of scientific knowledge of forensic odontology to your doorstep for you to learn and assimilate and practice. Dr. Jayashankar Pillai is already climbing such a mountain, cutting the path and steps for all of us to tread in a shorter time. Dr. Pillai is a very hard-working clinician as well as a researcher who is not missed any opportunity to catch up the latest in forensic odontology. I'm very sure all of you will be able to see and appreciate that in his presentation today. Dear delegates, I also take this opportunity to remind you all that we in IAFO have a very good website which gives you the details of the new membership as well as access to our indexed scientific journal, which is well managed and edited by Dr. Shivapatha Sundaram and his team. With these few words, I wish you all once again a very good morning and thank one and all for giving me this opportunity. And I wish Dr. Jayashankar Pillai also the very best presentation. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Prabhu.
Thanks a lot, Nagesh sir. Now I'd like to introduce our resource person today, Dr. Jayashankar Pillai, who is a faculty in Government Dental College, Ahmedabad. Sir has finished his post-graduation in Gujarat Forensic Science University and fellowship from our association, that is Indian Board of Forensic Odontology. He's been honored with a prestigious research award from Indian Association of Dental Research. He's a resource person who has conducted workshops all over India about age estimation. Presently, he is very active in our association, Indian Association of Forensic Odontology, as the Joint Secretary. As Nagesh sir said, a very hardworking person who has enormous experience in age estimation because he has performed more than 400 medical legal cases of age estimation and skeletal remains. It's a privilege and honor to have Dr. Jayashankar Pillai as our resource person today. And thanks for accepting our invitation, sir. And over to you, Dr. Jayashankar Pillai. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhindra. May I start the presentation now?
I'll ask all the delegates to switch off your microphone, please. It's the sound is echoing, please. Switch off the microphone.
And if you can able to see the slides here.
Yes, sir, we can.
Is it full screen now?
Yes, sir. It's full screen.
Yeah, before starting my lecture today, I'd like to pay my homage to these three people who are, my maternal uncle, Mr. M.N. Pillai, is an advocate who recently lost. And he was my local guardian in my childhood. And it's because of him, what I'm what today. Next, my homage to our Professor J.G. Kannappan actually is the person who introduced me into the world of forensic odontology some 11, 12 years back. And my homage also to our one of the recent, to our member, Dr. B.S. Bagis sir, whom we recently lost. So with this homage and with their blessings, I start my presentation today. I thank the Innapura Dental College Dean Dr. Akhtar Hussain sir, Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu and his entire team, and the President and Secretary of the Indian Association of Forensic Odontology for giving this opportunity to appear before you on this knowledge sharing platform. I'm here to deliver this webinar on dental age estimation on in living and dead. Practical consideration. I was told that there were a lot of theoretical aspects covered around, in many seminars or in webinars about the age estimation in living as well as in the dead. So I'm here to share my practical experience and some practical tips to the budding forensic odontologist or whoever has got inclination to.
Pillai sir, 1 minute, sir. Pillai sir, 1 minute.
Yeah. Yes.
I request all the delegates to switch off both your video and audio. Let the presenter, yeah. Can you please switch off both video and audio, all the delegates? You can start, sir. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I have kept the theoretical part of this dental age estimation as minimal as possible, and I'm trying to concentrate much on the practical aspects. So I represent the government dental college and hospital, one of the oldest dental institutes of India since 1963. And we have been happy to get the NABH accreditation, and it's the second government dental college in the entire country to have this accreditation. And with this, I start my presentations. It's a fact that, the teeth always reveals the truth. The teeth are the valuable source of information, not only to the clinical, but also to the forensic and anthropological science. So this forms the basic. Now, why there is a separate dental age estimation, why the teeth are important for dental identification. So actually they reveal some truth we need to explore. So the forensic odontology is that branch which is going to explore all the aspects of the teeth. It is nothing but the application of dental knowledge to the criminal civil laws. So this is just a basic definition of forensic odontology. But it is that branch of dentistry which I would say that deals with both the living and the dead. It may be at an institutional level or at a mortuary level, where our service are rendered, or sometimes even at the scene of crime, where a forensic odontologist may play a vital role in identification of the body and in age estimation, etc. So it's just a brief definition of this. And coming to dental age estimation, it is nothing but the use of morphological, radiographic, histological, and biochemical methods. So all aspects of dental age estimation is put together because there are certain age-dependent changes which are taking place in the tooth. So it's a well-known fact that from the bud stage till the development to the completion of the root, maybe in a deciduous or in a permanent tooth, there are certain time lapse which is taking place, and that is the basic funda we need to apply in the estimation of the age. So we utilize this time gap from, for example, 8 to 12 years it takes for a bud stage to completely fuse in the root apex for the permanent teeth, and 2 to 3 years for a deciduous tooth. So this is being applicable in both radiographical methods. And dental age, according to the American Board of Forensic Odontology, there are still some use of words like assessment and estimation. Sometimes, they are used synonymously or without, the proper knowledge. Actually, the assessment is the process. So we need to understand when we call it as a dental age assessment, it is a process which is used to produce an estimation of an individual's chronological age. We get a biological profile using that dental data. So the process which is called as the assessment. And when we use certain mathematical calculations, certain metric values, or even some mean age in an age interval, and we get certain results. So based on that result, what we estimate is the age estimation. So in fact, it is estimation is a part of a dental age assessment process. And the technique, the method or the procedure actually used to assess. There are plethora of methods and techniques available. It all depends on what type of exhibit you get in a forensic case. So the method is applicable according to the type of exhibit, maybe a single tooth or a mandible or a maxilla, something like that. Now, dental age study. Our literature are being flooded with dental age estimation articles coming out with new regression formulas, and what's worrying is that the sample size. There are a lot of articles where they have given the regression formula for age estimation, validation of another formula with population-specific data. Of course, they are welcome, but at the same time, the sample size is a real concern. So, such type of study in future, should come out with a pooled data from all over India, and to have a country specific, or in fact even the region specific or racial specific formula. So that I will address at the end of the lecture. What are the ways to overcome this thing? Now, when we talk of an age, we are not the parents of that particular person, so that we can tell the exact age. Okay, sometimes even the parent, they don't know. In some cases they say they know just the year of birth, but they're not aware of the month and date of birth. It has happened in many of our cases. They have, they may be deliberately, hiding the age, or maybe for some reasons. But there are genuine cases where the age estimation documents are not available. So when we do an estimation of an age, there should be a rate of certainty. So when we apply the age estimation formula of done on a different population, and when it is applied on another population, the standard error or the standard deviation of that study should be considered. With probably with a 95% class interval, we get a standard deviation of plus or minus 2 years. And I always tell and quote in many of my lectures that the statistics is the backbone of age estimation studies. And it's I take this platform to make an appeal to the organizers of many forensic lectures to have a concentration on the statistic part, also to give or impart training on the statistic part of dental age estimation also. So just my appeal. Now, why we require the teeth for age estimations? Of course, we all know as a student, from our student days, we have been knowing that the teeth are the biological markers of aging. The dental maturity is the most reliable indicator, even in fact better than the skeletal thing. And eruption of teeth can also be easily observed in the oral cavity. So not much of invasive procedures are required to do certain basic age estimation methods. And the mechanisms that regulate the tooth development are also independent, except for genetically controlled, whereas there are contradictory findings stating that the nutritional, environmental, hormonal impact are also there on the development of tooth, which are not much explored. So this is again a lacunae I want to point out. So most of the points I'm pointing out are an avenue for future research to these young background forensic odontologists, or anyone who is interested in research in forensic odontology. So these are the lacunae I've been highlighting, so they can be taken up as a research projects on a larger scale, so to answer all these questions. Of course, the basic thing we understand now is the eruption and the mineralization of the teeth. They are the timed events, and they are most commonly considered during the age estimation criteria. And we know there are developmental milestones right from infancy to childhood, pubertal, adolescent age, and this is always marked by certain characteristics in the dentition also. The infancy period is around 3 years, which is dominated by the milk teeth alone. The childhood is 6 years from the eruption of first molar, the pubertal 7 years till the onset of puberty, adolescent till the third molar. So, so till this adolescent period, there are many methods which are using the developmental stages till the second molar, or sometimes even the third molar. But when we talk of the adult age estimation, they are considered mainly as the post-developmental stage. So the developmental, like eruption and mineralization component, may not be totally considered when we decide the estimation on an adult. So, there are other methods which we will discuss later on. As Shakespeare has told in his play, As You Like It, that there are 7 stages of life. I also remember one of the Rajinikanth song in the film Basha, which divides the life of a person into 8. There's a song also. So we just have to know which 8th stage we are in now. So that is what is conveyed in that song. So there are, it is common to everyone. We have crossed all these stages and are going to cross these stages. So maybe from birth, neonatal, childhood, juvenile. But apart from all these things, forensically, what we are concerned is the juvenile, adolescent, adult, because these are the area where the legal aspect is being implicated. Of course, there are cases where forensic odontologists advise, or forensic people's expert opinion are sought, especially in the prenatal and neonatal infancy death, especially in the case of feticide and infanticide, to decide whether it is a preterm birth or death or homicide after birth. So all this is also, this is a very, very critical issue nowadays, especially with the female feticide and infanticide cases being reported. So this prenatal, neonatal, that area also can be explored forensically. So still there are lacunae. There are very few articles, addressing the age estimation in this particular age range. Most of them are concentrated on the juvenile, adolescent, and adult. Teeth are active in their stage of development. So what are those parameters which we can consider before birth? Are the incremental lines. In the previous students over there, they may appreciate the dental histology slide. When in the enamel and dentin, they would have witnessed the incremental lines, the neonatal lines, okay? But the age estimation from the weight of the tooth bed is something new, which as a forensic odontology, only when we studied the course we came to know. Then there are mineralization stage till the second molar, the age range of 0 to 14. Again, legal implication, especially in the juvenile, not in the juvenile, especially in the Child Labor Act cases are concerned. And adolescent period, so most of the crime is happening at this age, especially the sexual abuse cases under the POCSO Act. And more than 21 years, they are based on certain post-developmental changes like attrition, periodontosis, etc., etc. We'll discuss that later. Now, when we talk of age estimation in legal terms as well as on the forensic terms, why we need to do that on the legal terms is just to provide an appropriate answer for the justice of delivery. We do it on in children, in younger age people, as well as in the older age. In children, they are mainly for the rights and protection, like as I mentioned already, that is mainly for the protecting a child against labor. Less than 14 years of, they are not supposed to do any strenuous work in any factories or industries. So they protect the child. And in younger age people, lesser punishment. So already we have witnessed one very important case in India where the juvenile, went scot-free, like, or with a lesser punishment, maybe in the Juvenile Justice Board, not under in prison. And in older age, especially, people come for the pension and retirement benefits. They falsify their age at the time of recruitment so that they get the pension benefit or something like that. So the companies, they send their employees there for a verification based on the teeth. So these are all for the legal terms. In forensic terms, mainly for the identification of an unknown body under the CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code 174, the investigation of a death. So the identification of that particular person has to be established. So for that, to establish the identity, age estimation also plays an important role. Why? Because they narrow down the search for a missing person. Okay, so with some examples I'll be quoting later. Now I thought I would, elaborate on both the living as well as on the dead, because, the techniques sometimes they are almost the same. But the reason why we do this particular exercise in a living as well as in a dead, the reasons are different. Why? Because, in a live patient, in a live person, we can see the person physically, and he just walks into your consultation room, and we do perform certain procedures. Of course, consent is very important when we do deal with the live person, and certain procedures require some permissions, like when we deal with the dead body, and if there is a need for the resection of the mandible. In rigor mortis, it is very difficult to cases. It is very difficult to observe the intraoral features and also to take an X-ray. So it sometimes requires the mandible to be resected. Of course, we need some permission from the investigating officer, and whether to retain the tissue after procedure or not. legal sections involved, they are different. Confidentiality and issues like radiation exposure. For example, issues like, a case of sexual assault on a child or in a girl, and that girl became pregnant, and whether to take the radiograph for age estimation, or whether we can apply the radiographic methods of age estimation in such circumstances, that also I will address at the later stage. So the legal medical issues for examining, for estimating the age in life are dissimilar. So now the first part will come is the living. Now why we need to do the dental age estimation in the living? Of course, I mentioned a few points in the earlier stage itself that comes under the Child Labor Act or in the POCSO Act. The person may be a victim or sometimes maybe the accused also. The perpetrator of that particular crime, he may claim a juvenile. So in case of doubt, the court sends the concerned person for a biological or a medical board for an age estimation. Sports personnel, especially, we have categories of junior and sub-junior levels in sports Authority of India. So the person, there are sports person who falsify their, giving wrong age of birth, date of birth, and to get the benefit. So they such cases are also being reported. And age fraudulent cases, especially for the admission procedures, which is very common, and retirement, as I mentioned already. Apart from that, may not be much used in our country here, but in Western countries, the refugees and asylum seekers are, they are commonly, seek the for dental age estimation, human trafficking case, and child pornography, prostitution, Hindu Marriage Act. So these are, the various indications where the dental age estimation can be applicable. So under the POCSO, I'm not going in depth into the act, but just the few points where practically when someone gets a case, those things need to be considered. So you should be aware of certain things under the POCSO Act, that under this act, a child is a person who is below 18 years of age. So the 18 is the threshold level of age here, which is very, very legally important under this act. Okay, and under the CRPC section 174, they are to be examined. So any case of sexual assault or a person should be examined in a biomedical board, and there are certain guidelines which we need to follow. Examination, I mean to say, includes even the dental examination, the oral examination. It should be done in the presence of a woman, because most of the victims are girls, so it has to be done in the presence of a woman doctor, in the presence of child's parent or any person, in whom the child repose trust or confidence. Sometimes the parent may not be there. So whomsoever the child repose trust, so that person's presence is very, very important. Even when we do the age estimation dental, we see to that. If in case the parents or the trusted person is not available, now, in such circumstances, the institute performing that may nominate a woman who is, working in that institute. So that goes, the onus lies on the head of the institute. So every institute should have. So whenever we deal with this type of cases, so some person, that woman employee in that particular institute, need to take that responsibility of the consent examination. Presence should be there. The medical examination should be done within 24 hours. This especially, for the medical examination, gynecological examination, this is most applicable. A dental age estimation in such cases, follows the gynecological examination. So most of the cases which we are getting in our institute are either referred from the medical college by the gynecology department, or from the distant CHCs or from district hospitals by the medical officers. In the Child Labor Act of 2016 amended, the child is a person who is not completed 14 years of age. So you can see the difference of the threshold of age in both the earlier act and in this act. So here it is not less, it should be less than 14 years. So we can term that person as a child. So under section 10, the medical authority is approached for their age estimation. And we know that under this act, the person under 14 years of age may not be allowed to work in any job. So here, why I'm calling this 14 years, so we need to take the milestone of the second molar. The root completion of the second molar is started, and most of them, 14 to 15 years, the root completion is totally complete. So root formation is totally complete. However, we have certain exceptions in this act, like for example, a person under 14 years of age helping their family in certain petty works, and of course we can also exclude the child artists who are working in the film industry. So they are not considered under this act. So they are less than 14 years. So these are the exceptions we can think of. And this act was amended in 2016, and which defines a person in the range of 15 to 18 as an adolescent and below 14 as a child. Now the minimum age in some states, it has been increased to for hazardous work, it has been increased to 18 years. So now basic knowledge of this should be present whenever we deal with such cases under the Child Labor Act. There are cases where our OPD was flooded with 10, 15 children brought by an NGO. Okay, so we had to do all the age estimation process in such cases. One point I want to note, to inform about the data which has been generated by the NCRB, that 25% of the children raped were targeted at work by their employers and co-workers. So there is a link not only with the Child Labor Act, so the person may be booked under the POCSO Act also. Under the Juvenile Justice Act, it has been much talked about after the post-Nirbhaya case in Delhi. A juvenile is a person who has not completed 18 years of age. So according to this, 18 again is a threshold. But it has been amended that for heinous crimes, 16 to 18 years of age also may be considered in trial in a children court. So we have two things actually. Juvenile is just it's a definition, but when we talk of a child in the conflict of law, a child who is under 18 years of age and who has committed certain offense, crime. So that is what defines a child in conflict with law. And age should be determined under section 94. So this is just in case of doubt regarding the juvenility. Usually in the 2007 earlier, the age estimation was not that much important, but most of them, they rely on the physical appearance of the person based on their secondary sexual characteristics, physique, all that things were considered for determining the age or categorizing the person as a juvenile or an adolescent or an adult. Of course, they relied on certain documents also. In India, we consider the birth certificate as a gold standard. Now, the school leaving certificate, Supreme Court has given the authorities. So, school leaving certificates and mark sheets also can be utilized as a document for source document of age proof. Now, in the absence of any of this above, it may be deliberately lost or it may be hidden. So the ossification tests and other age estimation tests are applicable under this act. So age estimation test in this act, has to be completed by 15 days by the medical board. So this is what I wanted to highlight. So whenever you get cases under this particular act, so you see to that we do the procedure and reporting and submission of the report by 15 days. Sometimes, there are cases where a tooth has been brought, and there are cases where we need to do the cemental annulation method where decalcification of the section is required. Okay, of course it is in a dead person, not in a live juvenile justice. So, that 15 days is too less to perform the decal type of studies. The third important thing, the National Code Against the Age Frauds in Sports in 2010, and it has been notified that the age estimation procedures are to be made compulsory. Okay. So now we talk of often the cases presented in living cases. Most of them are of sexual assault case and under juvenile justice case, beneficiaries, and referred from the medical board. So now when we talk of age estimation in victims, we now concentrate on under the POCSO Act. Now we will be involved in the estimation of both the victim as well as of the accused person. Okay, now 70% the procedures are almost similar. Whatever we are going to do, the procedure are almost similar. How to handle that? The procedure wise also I'll be explaining. Now, consent is very important when we take from the victim. If the victim refuses to give the consent, then he or she cannot be forced. Okay, and when the person involved is less than 12 years of age, then the consent from the parent or guardian is required. Sometimes, due to some reasons, the parent or the guardian or the person who is responsible for that child is not present. So, in such circumstances, the medical superintendent or the medical officer can give consent to perform the age estimation in such cases, but it cannot be forced. However, in case of the accused age estimations, it has been done to decide the criminal responsibility, to decide the quantum of punishment in such cases. So consent is compulsory, and it can be taken forcefully by the police, and examination can be done by anyone, because if the person involved is a male, then there is no requirement for a female doctor to be present at the time of examination. Now what we see here in our country here is sexual assault on minor victim. Victim is a minor, then the punishment is severe for the perpetrator if he is a major. And if the sexual assault by a minor assailant, then it is given lesser punishment. So he is referred to the Juvenile Justice Board. So this is what the scenario here. Now, what are the protocols to be followed? So, as I've been asked to, emphasize more on the practical aspects, so now I slowly enter into how the procedures or protocols to be followed when a person or when any one of us get a case on a living age estimation. You need to provide a comfortable environment to the person. So, these are the protocols to be followed. Then document the findings in a chronological order. Maintain objectivity, as much as possible. Try to avoid the subjectivity in that. Examine even minute details during clinical radiographical examination. It should not be done in a very haphazard way, in a hurry. Now, try to categorize the age range. Once we reach a certain stage, like we have taken an X-ray, based on that X-ray, we can categorize the child, whether it belongs to a child or an adolescent or an adult. And based on this category, we may further extend our investigation of age estimation with applicable methods using population-specific formula. And as much as possible, we need to use multiple methods and on multiple teeth. Combination is always the best. Then report the findings in a very clear and as much as possible, do not use the technical terms. And last but not the least, with certain degree of experience, I put here, put science and ethics first, and emotions. There is no place for emotions when doing the age estimation. So these are the protocols which I emphasize that we need to follow when we do the age estimation procedures. Of course, when we do the method, it's always we get a confusion. Sometimes we land up searching for the Wheeler textbook and take the chronology of age estimation, and just like that, we are sometimes forced to give the age based on the Wheeler's textbook. Okay, I feel then that what is the use of forensic odontology when we are not able to apply the methods? Okay, just like based on the textbook, and that to the data which has been present since many decades. And those data which have been done on a westernized population, and how reliably we can apply those chronologies in Indian population also. That is just one point which pinches me, that we need to have population specific data, and of course we select these methods based on the recommendations given by Ritz, Tim et al. Select the method, which has been published in a scientific journal in a very, thorough peer-reviewed publication. And it should have a well-defined methodology. That article should mention the methodology very clearly. Okay, step by step, the methods has to be elaborated. It should provide a sufficient accurate result, consider the standard deviation also, standard error. Result giving a standard error of 10 to 15 years, Of course, they may be acted as a last resort. But in a case where we need to accurately give the result, those methods may not be applicable. It should comply with the principles of medical ethics and to apply when we select the method. The earlier one, what I said was the protocols we need to follow. But when we select a particular method, we may stop our age estimation just by this way, categorizing this into a child, adolescent, or an adult. But if a forensic odontologist is there, or a person having knowledge of forensic odontology is present, then he may or she may take forward the investigations by applying the methods. American Board of Forensic Odontology also has given the guidelines. So this, I would suggest, those departments or institute planning to get the Department of Forensic Odontology, established, should have a very big chart of all these in their department. So they are ready, checklist or ready reckoner. We can use them at any time. So that is my suggestions to the people who are starting a department in their institute. Now the procedures. Now when a case comes, when a live person comes, now we request, we ask for the requisition letter. If it is a victim of a sexual assault, usually they are discharged from a medical hospital and with a discharge slip. In the discharge slip, it is clearly mentioned that requires dental estimation, dental age estimation, referred to government dental college and so on. So it's mentioned. So that is the basis for us performing the age estimation procedures. So we get the request form, we make our department institutes case documentations. We insist on the MLC number and case number. We maintain the record in our forms, and concern we get the signature of the person. And we follow this thing, as I mentioned already. If it is age is estimated below 12 years. So now, before estimating the age, how do you know that it is less than 12 years? It is because they don't know the age, they have come to us. So what we do, we make it mandatory, compulsory, that the person, whoever is bringing, need to sign the consent form. So this has to be followed. Now the accused also should give consent for age estimations about 12 years. And clinical evaluation, like how we deal with a normal routine dental patient. So with the same dignity, honor, we need to handle such cases, irrespective whether it is a victim or an accused. So the cases need to be handled in a very dignified manner and a very professional and ethical manner. Now, sometimes when we also cross-check, some identity, we just can't rely on the document paper which they send. So if at all they have any document, so the identity can be cross-verified. That means we are doing this age estimation of that particular person only, or of someone else. So we can cross-verify the document. So most of the time, they may not be carrying the birth certificate or the passport, all these things, but at least, the driving or the Aadhaar, which is now mandatory. So that can be cross-verified. And another thing is, I would suggest, this to be after we do the estimation of the age, because if sometimes, they declare the date of birth also. Some of the cases, they declare their date of birth. So whatever they say, we make a note of it. But in spite of that, we don't go for the checking of this verification of this document, because we need to do our method, then it is possible that we can verify. So so sometimes it becomes biased, so we don't just like that jump into the verification based on this document. So we perform our age estimation methods, and if required, we go for the verification. Now, as I told already, once the case comes, documentation, clinical examination, all these things we have categorized. And now this is the recollection. This is the the line demarcating the role of a dentist and the role of a forensic odontologist. Now here we apply the methods. Certain considerations has to be done for ethics, patience, objectivity. The report which you are giving should be a standalone. It should be very clear, accuracy, confidentiality, and time concern. So all these factors, a person who is willing to work in dental age estimation, real life cases, consideration has to be given to this. Now, once we do the analysis part and we come out with the report. So we in our institute have a very customized form. So, but here for your understanding, I have split them into various sections. Where it should have the institute's name, address, logo, contact details, everything. And the preliminary information, the preamble portion of the report, what's the person's name, the age, gender, OPD number, MLC, PR number. Sometimes we fill this date of birth as declared. If it is not declared, we put nil and refer from whether it's from a medical college or from any particular district hospital. So such mentioning has to be done. Referred for what? They seek the opinion of dental age. So we mentioned that for opinion regarding age. Then brought by whom? Sometimes, some NGOs bring, sometimes parents, or sometimes the police personnel in case of accused. So the police person belongs to which police station? What is his buckle number? All that things need to be entered. And brought on which date? And who examined the case? Doctor, and on what date? So this preliminary information, why I have customized this to this data? Because most of the time when I go for summons in the court, these are the questions. So when they make the examination, the court summons, when you are interrogated, there are three parts. It is first the examination, then the cross examination, so then again examination. So during the examination, they ask all these things to us. So we need to, in our local language, we explain them so that the typist goes on typing and they make a record of whatever we say. So this point has to be very clear. And of course the consent in a local language, it has to be written, and the person's signature of parent signature, identification mark, and left thumb impression. So all these are a standard to be followed when we document the case. Now next is the examination. So in a similar paper, we just do the clinical examination. We just write the number of teeth present based on this Palmer and Zygmund's method. So whatever the teeth present, we make a note of it. Also, I would extend that just like how we do in DVI, we also need to make, it's compulsory that we make a note of all the abnormal findings. Like for example, any pathology, if at all any teeth is having any dental caries or periodontal, whatever, so that need to be made a note of it. And if we go for an OPG, X-ray, or sometimes RVG, so all that thing can be mentioned and can be printed. Now, description of the method. Are we using the radiographic alone, or are we relying on the clinical? Sometimes, I told already that there are cases where we have not taken the OPG as the victim was pregnant. So we relied mainly on the clinical examination itself. So that need to be highlighted, and the reason for not taking the X-ray also need to be addressed. And finally we give the opinion based on the methods and gender, population specific formula, whether it has been used or not, what is the standard error. So based on that we give the final opinion and conclude. If at all we use multiple methods, like in most of the cases we used methods like PTR and ASA, Camerius. So we compile all these results of all these methods and give in a conclusion. I'll be showing one of the examples later. And lastly, we do the signature, contact details, and of the examiner. We have a dedicated committee for age estimation in our institute. Since 2013 we have been functioning, and till I think more than 500 cases have been age estimation has been done, which includes certain skeletal remains cases also referred from the medical college of our city, and we do the institute seal and submit the report. And one more important thing, as for the IOFOS guidelines, in the report, we also need to mention this disclaimer. We have to be a safe player in legal terms. The opinion contained in this report are based upon the evidence presented by the author and by the committee, and up to date at the time the report was written. And the author was unable to verify the accuracy of the depositions as well as any other background information or evidence. Now, this is very well applicable when we get the death case, or even sometimes in a living case, we are just asked for the age estimation without producing the any case related documents. Like, for example, in an investigation on CRPC 174, we may not go for the Panchnama report by the police, because in the Panchnama report, the police always mentioned that the approximate age of the dead person is so and so, like such and such age. So we do not have that background. Of course, we should not go for that background, because we sometimes will be biased by the age estimation. So we always do not go by this background information or the evidence. Okay, we work on the exhibit only which it has been provided to us. So the author reserves the right to amend this report should additional information become available or the information proves inaccurate. Like, for example, one case I say, where we did the age estimation on multiple methods, we submitted the report. But in spite of, one method we missed, like the cemental annulation method, where we need permission to make the ground section. So we applied to that concerned authority, got the permission later on, and we started preparing the ground section. So that took some time. Meanwhile, we had submitted this report. So based on the cemental annulation, an amendment to this report was also submitted. So this disclaimer will help us. Now, in spite of doing so many things, what is lacking? What we lack is the details related to the nutritional status. This was the study of my thesis, my MSc thesis. We do not consider the nutritional status, like, for example, the BMI in many age estimation cases. Any institute or even research workers doing thesis, or when you work on age estimation, kindly consider the nutritional status, BMI, because the maturational degree may not be affected, but the eruption degree may be affected by the nutritional status. Malnourished children have got delayed eruption of the teeth. Details are there in the report. So that is the reason why I took this study on a larger scale, covering around 1,300 students in 8 different districts of Gujarat, where we checked the BMI of the person and correlated with the number of teeth present. We didn't go for the radiographic assessment, because taking 1,300 students X-ray, school children X-ray, and that too in different areas of Gujarat, so that was difficult for us. So we used only the clinical parameter. That means the presence of teeth, that is indicating the eruption status. So there were significant correlation between the nutritional status and the teeth present. So the younger generation need to concentrate on studies related to age estimation with due consideration to BMI. Sometimes we not be able to take the height and weight of that person, but there are certain metric methods called as the upper mid-arm circumference. We can have the tape measure the mid-arm circumference of the concerned person, and that may give an indication of the nutritional status of the person. So this is the hint I am giving, so you can take up projects, come out on a larger scale. Now, related to socio-economic status on Kupuswamy scale can be utilized. The socio-economic status also may play a role in the eruption of a tooth or the developmental maturation of a tooth. So this also can need to be explored. So there are various scales available, like one I told Kupuswamy scale. So apply that. This also we applied in our study. Then details related to the habit, especially when we deal with cases, live case, where the person has got chewing habit and we are forced to do the, only the one method, that is average stage attrition method. So where the cuspal, they are treated because of the habit. So how far the reliability of the age estimation method based on the attrition? So that again need to be answered. Then also related to stress and parafunctional habit, we do not take all this history. So that is why I am telling what is lacking in our earlier report. So we need to address all those things. Then the probability of estimated age which should meet the legal cutoff. We give the age range. Okay, sometimes 16 to 25 years are the age range given. What is the legal value of that particular age? So ideally, an age estimation method should always indicate the probability, like how far we are sure that this particular person is below 18 years or above 18 years. So here only the role of statistics is very vital. So that is why again I mentioned it is the backbone for any age estimation study. Now this was the case, a live person. He was convicted person in a jail. He claimed above 65 years and he applied for mercy plea for to be released. He was under life imprisonment, but he applied for mercy plea to be released. So this was brought to us and we examined the photograph and all the methodology we applied. Now we need to think what method we can apply here. So we as a forensic odontologist know that, on seeing this average stage attrition, we go for OPG. Of course, when we take the OPG, we have a lower limit that is above 25 years, that is for sure. But without extracting the tooth, because he will not give consent, and it is also not ethical on our part to extract a tooth and do an age estimation in a living case, which is not acceptable. So what all the methods we need to apply? Of course, we can go for a radiographic examination of certain teeth, apply the Qualls method, okay, and average stage attrition method, and take the canine and mandibular incisor and first premolar. We have a formula, Indian formula, given on age estimation by Babshed et al. So those methods can be applied. So this is where the forensic odontologist's actual role comes. So this is what we did. We take the canine, we use the Jivan et al.'s Indian formula. And one more thing, when we do this PTR method, we see to that we don't just take the reading once. On 5 different occasions, 5 different days, we take this. Okay, so to avoid the measurement error or to avoid the observational error, so to avoid that, we take on multiple occasions on a single tooth and also take multiple teeth. So we estimate the age based on the PTR, take the average, and we give the range. So we got the age range as 62 to 72 years. The person has applied for a mercy plea stating he is above 65 years. So now it is none of our concern that why it is coming to in this range. But based on the available data, we could estimate this particular age. Okay, so it is up to the legal concern. Camellias, even though it is on a foreign population, we applied that Camellias formula also in this particular case, so that we can see how much is the correlation of the Indian formula and the foreign formula are. So this was the method we applied, and in that case we took the average stage attrition method also, considering all the cuspal attrition. So we staged them and got the age. Based on this particular method, the age is 59 to 67. So this is just the methods which we applied, and we give the report. So as I tell, the preamble portion has to be very clearly mentioned. From whom the case comes, the address, it has to be addressed to that person only. Now, who has referred the case to you, to him only you have to address. And opinion, final conclusion, we are given like this. And of course, the disclaimer, you cannot miss this disclaimer in this particular case, because you could have seen the amount of tobacco stains here, and also the attrition because of the tobacco chewing also could have contributed. So of course, we have mentioned the disclaimer here. Okay, some live cases where we get the sports person. The request forms comes, and based on the date of birth and date of joining, they are supposed to be in the age range of 12 to 18 years, where they are selected for a training on handball. but when the case in a bulk came to us, we did the OPG. We made the finding. We made the emergence age estimation method we applied, and we could get. So one important thing I want to tell here is the Excel sheet. We got the date of birth, we got the date of joining. So we input the formula, like this is the formula in Excel sheet. I always mention that it's very easier. So if you input this formula, you will get the age. But now what you see here is the whole age. We are not getting in ratio. We are not. It's not. It's in whole number. So, but we should not go for this. Now, my humble request or suggestion to all those working in age estimation is convert that age into years. Okay. Now, how to do that? When we put this date of birth, date of joining, we put this input formula. This is the formula, and we get the age in years and months. So that means 13 years and 6 months. You convert that into years, that is 13.5. That means you divide that 6 by 12. So you will get the age in years. So this is what we need to correlate with the actual age. Now, to our surprise, what we found was, there was only one person who is below the age of 15. Of course, this is a case where 12 to 18 is the age limit for the particular sports category. But as the date of declaration, how they have declared the date, based on that we calculate the age, and based on the mineralization stage, we have estimated the age. So you can see the difference here. Okay, so how many of them have truly declared their date of birth? So it's a subject matter. Now, this is one example of that particular pool. Declared date of birth is this much, and date of X-ray is this, and actual age coming here is this. As per the demergence state, this was the declared and X-ray. So we minus this X-ray with the declared age. Okay, so what we get is this particular age. But if you do the age estimation using the formula, Indian formula, we got this as a 19.4 years. So in an age range of this much. So this person is registered in a 12 to 18 category for a handball competition. So he was selected and he was playing. So he has got the more chance of winning the trophy. Now the challenges. The lack of birth certificate or age-related documents, as I mentioned, falsification, then parents sometimes, falsely give the age. So these are the challenges in age estimation. Now that finishes the part one. Now I'll quickly go through the age estimation in the dead. I required that because in a that means who the person is, what is the age, and sex of that particular patient. So based on this, we can estimate the identity or to determine the identity of that particular patient. The remaining things is not into our area, because we are not the person to decide whether it is a suicidal, homicidal, or accidental. So I skip this. Of course, in a death investigation, the forensic odontology, sometimes he may be called to the scene of crime also to decide whether the particular tooth is a human tooth or a non-human tooth. It happened in our case where a canine has been, misidentified as an animal tooth. And also based on the teeth, we can estimate the number of individuals actually. There may be only one skull or a mandible. But if I see a mandibular first molar, a right first molar in that anatomic position in the mandible, and I also see another first molar, avels or in the crime scene, so that may indicate that there is one more person who is involved in that particular area, crime scene. And ultimately, it helps in building the biological profile where age is important. And why? The reason already I mentioned, it is just to establish the identity of the body. And according to ABFO, the medico-legal application of the disease includes estimation of age at the death to narrow the search parameters and to assist in the identification. So this is the main concern for estimating the age in the death. Common scenarios where a forensic odontology, he may be called for an intact body where there is no decomposition of an unknown identity. Of course, based on the documents and based on the fingerprint, the identity can be easily relieved. So that is why, according to the Interpol guidelines also, the fingerprint, DNA and dental, they all consider as the primary characteristics of identification. So in an intact or a fresh body where there is no decomposition, of course the fingerprint will come to our help. If not, DNA also are there. Then decomposed body where the fingerprint has got certain limitations. So DNA also, certain limitations, but in teeth always stand front. The skeletal human remains, again, there is no scope for fingerprints here in this. Of course, DNA is there, but the teeth alone can be an important parameter. Sometimes high impact accidents like mass disasters where the bodies are scattered or fragmented, so in such cases also they are involved. Feticide, infanticide cases also, to estimate whether it is a case of infanticide or a stillbirth or death after birth. So this is how an unidentified body, whether it is decomposed or a skeletal remain, if teeth dentition available, then there is a scope for dental age estimation. Okay, irrespective of the age, whether it is a neonate or it is a older age, so there is a scope for age estimation. And once we narrow down the search of the missing, then that is giving way for a successful identification. Of course, there are certain legal and social parameters involved behind the identification. Like for example, the insurance claim and all these parameters are there. So if our teeth, our profession can contribute for a successful identification, so it would be a greater thing. So when sometimes we go to the crime scene for locating the remains, the forensic odontology may be very useful. Recovery of the remains, we need to have certain kit customized for this documentation and analysis. Sometimes when we deal with the skeletal remains, there are more chances that when we handle this mandible or the skull in toto, there are chances that because of the taphonomic changes, the teeth gets removed from the socket, and an inexperienced person may not be able to locate that. So there are certain ways of stabilizing the teeth in its anatomical position, especially when a case of fire disaster, till certain extent the fire degree temperature the teeth withstand, but later it undergoes certain changes. So when it is handled in a rough manner, then there are chances that we lose those teeth, and the vital data are lost. So there the role of forensic odontology is very important. So he knows how to stabilize the tooth. There are certain methods like using polyacrylate methods. Sometimes nail polish are used, sometimes cold cure resins are applied. So they apply that on the teeth to stabilize it in its position, so that we don't lose the valuable data. So that is one thing. Sometimes in a decomposed condition, if a body is being shifted, we need to cover the head with a separate polythene paper, so that whatever falls from the oral cavity will be collected in that particular sheet itself, so that we don't lose the valuable data. So that is why we are important even at the crime scene. The proper equipment kit we need to have, of course, with due consideration to our own protection. So what we do in such a death case, document cleaning of the specimen. Sometimes we get cases from the referred from the medical department, if at all forensic medicine department, where there is a discrepancy in the age declared in the Panchnama report and the age which has been estimated by the forensic team. If there is a vast discrepancy, the difference in that estimated age, then they call for a dental age estimation. So I usually get a call in such situations where I go to the forensic postmortem room, and we ask the specimen to shift it to our institute officially. So there is shift that the whole body to a dental institute. So they do the mandible resection, and based on they do the mandible resection and send the mandible specimen alone to our institute. So how we handle that specimen? So of course we need to clean the specimen. Photography, of course, photography comes earlier, then cleaning. So analysis of the bony component, analysis of the dental component. So these are the broad perspective we should think of when we deal with any skeletal remains. The skeletal remains sometimes we get is very dry or sometimes muddy, and sometimes greasy. If it is a fresh decomposed body, they appear to be very greasy. So what we need to do is there are certain methods of cleaning the anatomical specimens, like for example cold maceration, hot maceration, and there is a bug box technique also is there. But we may not be have the access to apply all these methods. But routinely when we get a mandible with teeth, it is cleaned with 30% hydrogen peroxide for 24 hours and cleaned in running water. Now one word of caution here I give is when we do this cleaning of mandible, we should Hello.
Hello, sir. Yeah, we can hear you. Presentation again, sir.
Till which slide I was not audible?
Probably 2 minutes back, sir.
This is okay. This people were saying this about the cranial sutures I was explaining.
Before this slide, sir. Yeah, after this, sir. After cleaning the specimen.
Okay. Fine. After this, okay. Sorry everyone for this inconvenience. Okay.
This is done, sir. Next slide.
This one.
Next one. Yes, sir. After this is also over. Yeah. From here.
Yeah, fine. So after suppose whenever we get this type of cases, so we need to record the details before the washing or cleaning. Photography has to be done and recording of the details has to be in a very meticulous way. So we should not miss any of the details. So this is called as the Interpol's pink form. Okay, P for postmortem and P for pink. So there are two sides of this form. So we need to enter all this in this particular form. Okay, and with all the case details and with the signature. So we need to have this record. And we sometimes we get the skull as a whole with cranium and mandible, or sometimes only the cranial part without the mandible. So in such situations, if the cranial sutures also can be examined, we can extend our vision to the non-dental part of the skull. So try to analyze the sutures in the cranium, and based on that also age can be given. Of course, they are taken care by the forensic medicine and the forensic anthropologists. It is not our jurisdiction, but anyhow it will also help us in validating our own result also, dental age estimation also. These two things I have already mentioned. Now coming to the eruption parameters, as we know that the one is the eruption and another one is the mineralization. I told earlier, when we talk of the eruption parameter, it is not the single thing. So it sometimes before it enters into the oral cavity, it has pierced open the bony part. So it is the alveolar emergence and the clinical emergence. In live case, what we do is the in living case, what we deal with is the clinical emergence. But in age estimation, in the skeletal remains, what we deal with is the alveolar emergence. So we should know that the alveolar emergence is somewhat ahead of the clinical emergence. So with due consideration to this particular aspect. Now, when we get the mandible, we see that this third molar is erupted. We say it is erupted, okay, because it is a clinical eruption, or of course it is for sure the alveolar emergence. But whether it is a clinical eruption, because by seeing the side we can appreciate that. We are not sure whether it has actually pierced the gingiva. So we go for an IOP in that particular area, but we are sure that this is an alveolar emergence. So we do not know the timing of the clinical emergence. So whenever we deal with this type of skeletal remains, so due consideration to be given to this eruption pattern also. Of course, you can see this is actually unerupted, or this has not even taken the alveolar eruption. So it is still within the bony crypt. You can see this the first molar, it's still undergoing development and it is still within the bony crypt. Of course, a thin plate of alveolar bone has been lost here. Now, the mineralization parameters, one word of caution I give here, and almost to many methods on mineralization age estimation based on ossification, mineralization of tooth. See, we should understand that the mineralization actually starts 6 months before it is visible in the radiographs. But what we actually do is visualizing the radiograph, we consider it as a mineralized. But histologically, when we correlate, there are studies which has correlated that histologically, the mineralization occurs 6 months before if it is clinically visualized. But what we do is based on the radiographic. So all edge estimation methods using the mineralization stage need to incorporate this fact. So the standard error, or we need further studies to elaborate on this. So this is another lacunae. I point out this. Studies like historadiographic study need to be initiated, where we compare the histological as well as the radiological parameters. So the amount of mineralization is also proportional to the weight and height of the teeth, which in turn is correlated with the actual fetal age. So the method given by Stack et al., according to they used to measure the weight of the tooth and they gave the age of the fetus. So this is what I wanted to stress on the mineralization stages. Of course, after that the various age changes are there in the teeth. So they we can incorporate all these parameters. Dentinal transparency is one of the important methods which needs permission from the authority to sacrifice this tooth. But one thing I wanted to stress on this is try to use as many methods as possible from the tooth before sectioning. Okay, so after you have completed all those non-invasive methods, it may be a radiographical or it may be a morphological. So for example, use the Lamendin method, use the Quarles method. Okay, then you go for the sacrifice of this particular tooth. Ground sectioning can be done. Then you can use your dentinal translucency method or even the cemental annulation method. So that chronology need to be maintained. Again, I have certain reservations on this particular method because the thickness of the section is a big issue. There are studies which given formula for 100 microns and studies for 250 microns. So they have given a range of 100 to 250 microns. So that standardization of the section is also a big concern. It's again another lacuna I'm telling. So a young researcher can take up topics on this to standardize the section. Okay, and you give the formula. So this again is scope for research. Of course, our Secretary IFO has given a good he has given a good study which compared both the length and the area of the dentinal translucency. He had given formula for both the length as well as for the dentinal translucency area. So, for example, when we apply that, we need to see that we do the normal sizing. Okay, life sizing of this particular specimen. We measure the, confirm with the life sizing here and measure the translucency length and also the area using the image analysis too. Now we know about various methods. I have mentioned the names of few of the methods. We have broad classification of methods, but what I want to highlight here is the method is actually, it's dictated by the nature type of specimen. What type of specimen we get? It may be, as I told already, a full skull with dentate maxilla and mandible, or a full skull with an edentulous mandible or maxilla also, or sometimes, it may be a part of a cranium, or sometimes it may be only mandible, or sometimes it may be only one single tooth, So such type of variations in the specimen. So all methods, we have to be very choosy. Only those methods applicable to that particular specimen need to be concentrated. Like practical approach in bed, what we do, as I already mentioned, in a dead body, fresh body, whether it is complete or disintegrated. Sometimes, in mass disaster, multiple, scattering of the bodies are there. So whether it is of this category, decide. Then the second category is the decomposed body. We call it as a class 2 body. And third one is the skeletal remain. We call it as class 3. Now in a decomposed body, whether the mandible is resected, maxilla is resected, or sometimes we don't get permission to do the resection because certain the body need to be handed over to the next of the kin, so they may not be it was not wise on our part to to submit the body without the maxilla or mandible. So such type of things need to be considered. Now the third one, we get skull, cranium, mandible, or teeth. Now with the cranium, whether it is full component or partial component. So all these are the considered. So now when we get a single tooth case, so this is the, what I can say, the flow chart, decision matter, how we can decide. If it is a tooth, first and foremost is it a human tooth? Does that tooth belong to human? This has happened in one of our case when a canine was misidentified as a tooth of a carnivore. Usually the carnivorous teeth, especially the canine, they are highly curved, but we human teeth, they are almost straight, so curved teeth. The cusp pattern, they vary. The molar and there are various categories of the cusp pattern, so they vary. So it is very easy for us to identify if it's a human tooth or not. Yeah, if it is a human tooth, then we need to identify which tooth. Now here the knowledge of tooth anatomy is very, very important. Now that is the reason why I now agree that forensic odontology should be a part of oral pathology. This is a branch of dentistry which teaches or imparts knowledge on dental anatomy. So a thorough knowledge on this tooth anatomy is important. Not only the anatomy which we learn or teach in the undergraduate level, but also from a dental anthropology point of view also we need to understand. So that is being incorporated in the forensic odontology, and to some extent in our dentistry also. Comparative dental anatomy, there is a chapter. So that also need to be taught and highlighted to the dental students. Now, if you know which tooth, whether it's a permanent or a deciduous, if it is permanent tooth, then the root, just look at the root, just observe the root magnifier. You can use the stereo microscope or you can use the magnifier glass. Just observe the root. If it is completely formed, yes or no. If it is completely formed, use a morphological method like apply Lamandine's method, Gustafson's method, take radiographs, Qualls method. Then with permission, you can take the histology, Bang and Ram, and the tooth cemental annulation method. And sometimes we may also go for the biochemical method like aspartic acid racemization and carbon dating. Practically speaking, in forensic application, not much of use, but for research avenue, biochemical age estimation method is of use. And I will also extend one more category that is now recent on the molecular basis of age estimation, like the shortening of telomeres in the DNA. So that also can be applicable, not much on the practical forensic odontology, but for a research scope. So these are the methods we can apply if the root is completely formed. If the root is incomplete, that it means it shows two things. Either it is resolved or it is actually incompletely formed. So if it is actually incompletely formed, identify the tooth. There is a method, apply Morey's method. There is it is called as a graded or scaled method. We can apply that method and identify the tooth. Again, we can use the Gustafson's method if it is resolved. There is one of the parameter in the Gustafson's or Johnson's method is root resorption. So we may apply that method here in this permanent tooth. Deciduous tooth, root complete, yes, no need to do any further. But if the root is incomplete or it may be resorbed, most of the time the root are resorbed. So identify the tooth, and there is a method given by Morey's where they can use the degree of resorption or the amount of resorption of the root. Based on that, there are graded scaled values which we can estimate the age, mean age with standard deviation. So this is what I want to put in a nutshell when a single case tooth. Now the idea behind this whole compilation came when we teach the dental anatomy to our students. We handle the anatomic specimen, tooth specimen, and we ask the student to identify this is one of the practical exercise for the BDS curriculum. So at many a times the thought has come to my mind, what could be the age of this particular tooth, what could be the sex of that particular tooth. So only when we sometimes we need to think out of the box to come out with a solution. So this is one of the age estimation for a single tooth case. Now, how we do with this? What are the procedure we follow? The case, sometimes we are called to the forensic medicine department, or sometimes when we go there, we tell them to officially transfer the case to the dental college. So they send a request letter to address to the dean of our institute, and we register the case in our registry. Then the case will be transferred to the age estimation committee by the dean. Now the age estimation committee, we do the unboxing of the sealed box, because they are sent in a sealed box. So we do the unboxing, we do the photography, we do the detailed description. So these are the procedures we follow. Then based on the condition, as I told already, the specimen dictates the method. So we decide on the age estimation method. Okay, don't hesitate to do a literature search. There is no harm in that. So when we do a literature search, sometime I also take the opinion of the experts. Many a times I have called Dr. Rashid. I have disturbed him on many occasions on these practical cases. So he had guided me in many such cases. And application of the necessary methodology and reporting and returning of the specimen in a sealed box. So this is the protocol. Now, when we do this documentation, we need to note the inventory of the categories. If it is a mandible, what is the present situation of that mandible? Are the teeth present or not? So that we need to, as per the this Dalberg, we need to note this inventory. Take photographs. Suppose it's a simple mandible, clean the mandible, cleaning the procedures, and taking radiographs with due precaution, because we don't have in our institute the stabilizing part, for the mandible. So we take utmost care that proper radiograph is being taken. Now, this is my opinion, or maybe I may be wrong, but this is what I usually think of or do. Always start with the Atlas method. Whenever we get a case of a mandible which is dentulous, and we have taken an X-ray, and now you have a clear picture of the dentition status in that mandible. Now you take any Atlas method. This one is Maschler and Schor, Dalberg's. There are certain methods, Atlas methods, and the recent addition to that is the Atlas of the London Atlas by Al-Khatani. So take this Atlas. Now you observe the radiograph and observe this. So this you are using your own vision. We are not doing any calculations here. With just a vision, you just narrow down the age. Now we will come to a conclusion whether it is belonging to a child or an adolescent, or it is of an adult. So based on the exhibit you have got, the radiographic finding of the exhibit what you have, and on the Atlas method. So now you have narrowed down your search. Use the Morris method. This one of the next to Demergence, or in fact it is older than the most common Demergence method. I usually wish to follow this Morris method. You design this inventory form. You do the present coding there, what I have already shown. The developmental code you have already, based on this particular chart. And
Pillai sir, can I interrupt, sir?
Yeah, please.
So Pillai sir, can we continue in another session, or how much time you require, sir, further?
Okay, I'm just finishing. Only few more.
No, sir. Like if it is, you have few more methods, we can have one more session. So I was wondering.
What I will do, I will skip all these methods. I will not take it in detail. I will come to the conclusion only.
No, not like that, sir. Not in that way. We'll ask the audience if they are ready to for one more session, because these methods are important. We can conduct one more session, like
Okay, as you wish, as you wish.
So let the audience put your message. These methods are very important. So can we have one more session, or shall we finish it off? Can I have a response in the chat box, please? Because these methods are very important. One more session, sir. One more session, sir.
Okay, anyhow, one more session, we can go for it.
Because, sir, yeah,
Yeah.
most of the responses are separate. One more session, sir.
Okay,
Because,
then we will stop with this.
sir, you can need not stop abruptly, sir. Where you
Okay,
feel
okay,
we can stop it as a first session.
Fine.
We can have another
I,
session,
I,
sir.
I think this is the appropriate place, because this is the this is the area. After this only we need to decide on which method. Okay, so this is the correct place of stopping this present lecture. Like as I already told your participants, that we need to analyze this based on the Atlas method, and apply this Atlas method. We have that in our online tool is there, so we can use that online tool, so we can come to a conclusion that this belongs to a particular age group. Then we have a ABFO form, so based on that we decide whether, if it is a children, then what method to be followed; if it is of adolescent, then what method; if it is of adult, then what. So that is how we carry forward the age estimation in that cases. So I think I will stop with this. Thank you all participants for your opinion and for your presence. And once again, I thank the organizers, especially Dr. Sudhindra Prabhu and all the IAF office bearers and members for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Sir, thanks a lot. This is not the end of the lecture. The sir's experience is very important for us. So we need not want him to abruptly stop this lecture. We want him to speak again to us about each and every method in the next session. So what we are going to do is we are going to share the Google link and YouTube link again separately after conveniently fixing another session with Pillai sir, so that we can focus on of each and every individual technique. He has prepared amazing slides. So we are going to continue this lecture, and I'm going to share the link again with all of you. Thanks a lot for patient listening, all the delegates, and Pillai sir, thanks a lot for
thank you very much.
your amazing lecture. We are going to continue.
I'm sorry, Dr. Sudhindra, I didn't expect that it would take such a long time.
No, sir, I do understand. Most of the things you will be telling your experience, no, sir. So naturally,
that is what it has taken, I think so, because each and every point are important in this thing. We should not miss any single point. So, anyhow, we are meeting again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely. Part 2, because the next you are going to speak about methods, no, sir.
Yeah, not in detail. All those cases which we did, the cases and what method applied and why that method applied. So that is the justification we need to give even in our medical legal report. Now, why you applied that method? So that point and all I will be actually I wanted to discuss. But anyhow, it is nice that you interrupted me, and we can have a second elaborative session on this.
Better, sir, because interested people can go in depth about these methods. So let us not hurry and wind it off in an abrupt manner. So we'll have one more session, and I'll share.
Even in this session, if anyone having any query, I am free to answer them.
So part 1, as of now, if anybody wants to clarify anything, please put your question in the chat box so that Dr. Pillai can take them up. Thank you. So anything till now you could not follow, you can ask Dr. Pillai.
Here's one question by Dr. Nirima Oja. Madam was my teacher actually in my BDS days. She taught me oral pathology. The cleaning of mandible with the hydrogen peroxide. Madam, actually, sometimes some vital mineralization. When we have to go for the mineralized the age estimation based on, for example, even the attrition ASA method. So actually, I will not suggest that we go for hydrogen peroxide. Yeah, it is better to concentration if it is lesser enough. But the method which we ideally use is the detergent. So soak it in overnight and for 2-3 days, and then we can start using the mandible, handle the mandible.
Yeah, anything else anyone would like to clarify? Yeah, I would like to thank Dr. Pillai for his effort. Sir has prepared more than 180 slides. So I wanted that, sir, how much, sir?
140 something.
Yeah, 140
And
slides.
and one point I wanted to add, we were only 50% through.
Yeah, so I don't want that effort to be in vain. So let us meet again. I know many interested people are there here for forensic odontology. So whatever experience and effort has been put by Dr. Pillai, let us utilize that in a separate session again. I'm going to share the details later on. As of now, I'd like to thank our Dean, Dr. Akhtar Hussain, sir, all vice principals and head of the departments of Anapoya Dental College, all the office bearers of Indian Association of Forensic Odontology, starting from President, President-elect, Secretary, and the EC members. And I would like to thank my colleagues in Center for Forensic Odontology, Dr. Mikdad and Dr. Amara. Without their help, I don't think this was possible. I humbly thank the Department of IT, Anapoya deemed to be university, for all their help in the live coverage through YouTube and the Google link. And I would like to thank all the faculty of Anapoya Dental College, especially Dr. Faizan and Dr. Ruben, and all the delegates who have participated today. A big thank you to each one of you. We'll meet again after some time. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.